Hello, I'm Conor Mulheir, editor at Next.io, and I'm here at Optimove Connect 2024 in London, where we've been discussing lots of different topics, including the future of iLottery and CRM. Now, to do that in a bit more detail today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Jessica Fritz, Senior Manager for Digital Growth Marketing at Scientifc Games, and Pete Miles, Director of Sales at Optimove. Jessica, Pete, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Now, let's get straight into it, because we've got lots to discuss in terms of iLottery. Now, Jessica, as many people may know, Scientifc Games has a partnership with Optimove. Do you want to tell us first and foremost a little bit about how that came about and what the core of that partnership is?
Sure. So my team, the digital growth marketing team, we offer a wide range of strategic consulting services all the way to full CRM program execution. And we've partnered with Optimove since 2018 and have onboarded and now managed 12 state lotteries in the U.S. So we work with Optimove on a weekly basis, our customer success managers, John and Nardeep. And we also take advantage of the strategic services with Dana and Dean. They help us out with a lot of the analysis projects that we need. So they're really an extension of our team, and yeah, we're happy to continue taking on some of these new features and technologies that Optimove has for us, along with the team.
Yeah, fantastic. And what would you say are some of the kind of key challenges that the iLottery sector specifically is facing at the moment?
Well, the iLottery portion of the business is somewhat small in the U.S. So there are 12 state lotteries that have online programs, 9 of which sell both, we call them e-instant games and e-draw games. So that's the instant win game component. But that's, out of 45 states that have lotteries, that's still a small group of lotteries.
Yeah.
And it's still, even though some lotteries have been around for just under a decade, it's still fairly new. A lot of states are looking at legislature to pass so that they can have iLottery. So that's kind of the very first hurdle, and a lot of our leadership really is kind of leading that charge. Going to different types of hearings and things like that, so that they can help the lotteries get the legislation passed.
Yeah. And in terms of those states where, the 12 states that you mentioned where we already have iLottery in the US, and Pete, maybe you want to chime in on this as well. What are the challenges that Scientifc Games and Optimove together are trying to solve for those operators?
So certainly from outside of the US, the key area where I focus on is Europe, and Europe is vastly different from the US in that the market is a lot more mature in terms of lottery.
Yeah.
So pretty much every lottery in Europe has a digital presence, so an iLottery, and that's selling lottery tickets, e-instant tickets, and unlike the UK lottery and the US lotteries, most of the European lotteries also offer sports betting, and they also casino as well. So what does that mean? The challenges that they're having is they've got vast amounts of data, and it's really how do they really use that data to personalize the experience to their players. The other challenge they've got aside from the data is that they're very much competing against the giants of the iGaming world, the Bet365s, the Entain, the Flutter Groups, etc. So again, that they've got to really ultimately have their players behind every campaign that they do and treat them with that personal experience. The key thing, the difference between the two, is that responsible gaming is absolutely paramount to every lottery because they're state-run. Of course, it's not to say for the corporate world that it isn't, because they're in highly regulated markets and they have to have responsible gaming. But I think that's probably the key difference, is the vast amounts of data the lotteries have, and secondly, that putting the customer first and having responsible gaming front of centre provide everything that they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's fairly clear, even though some of those European lotteries will offer also online casino, online sports betting, I think the customer bases for those products compared to iLottery are probably very different, and I suspect that kind of means that it's a very different product to take to market then. What would you say are the key differences in how lottery products are marketed compared to, say, sports betting or online casino?
I think the key thing is the brand. So starting with the brand awareness is that obviously retail, lottery is predominantly historically from a retail basis. So wherever someone goes, whether it be a gas station, as you say in the States, or a convenience store to buy their tickets, that's where their first engagement is. The flip side to that is the sports betting and the European lottery, so sports betting and casino market is very much digital first. So yes, in the UK, there are high street brands on the Paddy Powers and the Labrocks, etc., and the Corals. However, there's brands like Bet365, etc., that are just purely digital. So that's the key difference between the two.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Jessica, you presented a session earlier today here at Optimove Connect, and one of the topics that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting is this collaboration, not just between Scientifc Games and Optimove, but there's also a collaboration between you two and Meta as well for this social media element. So tell us a bit more about that partnership.
Yeah, so the idea formed around, trying to solve for one of the challenges that we have, and that with lotteries, the marketing budgets and advertising budgets are somewhat modest as compared to some casino brands, that we just can't compete in that arena. So lotteries are very hesitant to, and have a very difficult task in deciding where they put their budgets, how they use their budgets, what tech stacks they want to invest in and things like that. So what we wanted to do was create a forum for them where they could, kind of test out in a pilot format, but also learn from other lotteries. So it was kind of a collaboration between lotteries as well. And just get the chance to try something new without, having too much stake in it, and seeing what the performance of the integration between Meta and Optimove could provide their marketing program. So when we launched the program, we weren't sure, it was, we were trying to think of, all of the possible scenarios that could happen. But we were really pleasantly surprised to find out that every test that we launched with this integration really showed positive results. And it did that because we were using data from Optimove. We were looking at, specific segments, whether that be, our high value players for our, real money gaming or iLottery customers, or we were looking at, purchase activity for our loyalty customers, really building these lists around data that we had, and then going out and looking for customers on Meta that were similar. And we did see positive results in, cost per result. And on the iLottery side, we saw, huge benefits on the cost per first time deposit. So yeah, we were really, really happy with it. And so that's why I'm here. I was here to talk about the collaboration that we had. And we, held sessions and workshops along with Optimove and Meta to help train the lotteries on the new technologies, really understand, their marketing goals, and yeah, we just went from there. So hopefully with the Digital Academy, we plan to do, use the same format to try other new technologies as well. So hopefully it'll continue on.
Yeah. So it sounds like the collaboration is a kind of big development, obviously for these lotteries specifically, but also for the sector at large. Sounds like it's kind of pushing forward and evolving the CRM landscape in iLottery. But what have been the major changes across the sector over the last, let's say, 5 years? How's that been developing?
I would say, we're using predictive analytics a lot more. You hear all these buzzwords and, using machine learning. And when I first started in lottery with the Michigan Lottery, I worked there in the digital division. We weren't using those types of things yet. And since I've been with as chief for the past few years, we've really been focusing in on, how can we really start to predict behavior by using likelihood to reactivate models, by using our likelihood to convert, as well as risk of churn, just really using that data that we have, that we've collected over a period of time to help us make better decisions or predict better precision. And so we've been testing messaging types, different offer types, and really digging into that as much as we can. So I think, from the start, that kind of changes the format of how you work. It's much more iterative, and it's really cool, actually. It's pretty interesting to see how these models can help you and how they can help optimize your program.
Yeah, and of course the most important thing with all this is what's the actual end impact. So what kind of impact are those developments having on player engagement, for example?
Well, the smarter that we can be with, not allowing players to churn and, getting those players reactivated, like with the Meta project, finding players that are of a higher value, that all, trickles down to what revenue you're going to be able to produce from the players. So the more you can optimize and use the data that you have, that is going to, eventually lead to increased revenue, and that's what all businesses want to hear. So
yeah,
I think the key metric on that we unashamedly publish out is that together with Scientifc Games and Optimove, so the Kentucky Lottery, in the space of 3 years of launching their digital CRM program, they increased revenues by 179%.
Wow.
So it's a pretty phenomenal return there, and that's only going to get greater as we go forward, purely by understanding their players and then putting the campaigns around that player behaviour to make sure the right campaign goes to the right player at the right time, and you could say on the right channel as well.
So Pete, what are the specific elements that Optimove brings to that relationship, for example, in Kentucky?
Okay, so maybe if I take it a step back, just to give you a bit of background, Optimove, outside of the lottery, we've got a vast amount of experience in the sports betting and the casino world. So we've got 10 years worth of data that we've analysed through AI and machine learning. We've got predictive models, as Jessica was just saying. So it's using that experience that we can bring to the lottery sector, so putting the player behind everything how they present to the customer. So the key thing that we do, first of all, is that we create a single customer view. So the common issue we have with most lotteries have with regards to their data is that they've got in various different parts, data warehouses, they're running off Excel spreadsheets, so that's how they're communicating with each other. So the first thing that we do is our data onboarding team will consolidate all of this, single customer view. We enrich that with our predictive modelling, as Jessica says, things like future lifetime value, risk of churn. But the key thing is that we're giving the CRM teams and the operators themselves direct access to this. So they're not having to wait in the morning for hours for BI teams or go through various different departments. They don't have to query databases. It's very simple to use. They've got access to all of this data, so they then create campaigns. Once the campaign goes out, again, one of the key things with Optimove is that every campaign we suggest is subject to test and control. So that means that you can measure the true business metrics and the uplift of every business KPI. So we're not talking clicks and opens, we're talking around what the ROI of that particular campaign meant. So the flip side to that is, what that means is then the system becomes smarter and smarter. So it's a constant feedback of this information, and it takes the operators to have these big groups of players and bring them down to smaller players that we could hyper-personalize whatever campaign that they want to send to them.
And I want to go back to something that Pete had said about the data, in the beginning, the data management piece of it. And like, from my perspective, as someone who is in marketing, communications, and design, and that's kind of my background, coming into this, when I first started using Optimove, I found it extremely easy to use. And I really felt empowered, to pull my own insights and, just the efficiency that creates, without having to put data requests into your data team, to really look at all of this information. I'm able to create reports for my lottery partners, and something I couldn't do before I started using Optimove.
So give me a bit more detail about how you can really personalise these marketing messages to the individual player. Just how closely segmented are we talking here?
It's a good question, because we always want to, it's a work in progress. We're using the lifecycle management and lifecycle migrations to really help optimize our conversion funnel. So we're starting with our, converting our players from a known player to, in the iLottery states, an iLottery or a depositor. And then on the loyalty side, we're trying to convert players from a known player to a first-time ticket entry or loyalty participant. So we have mountains and mountains of data on, what these players' preferences are, what, price points they like, what themes they like. But the challenge is really, having the capacity to personalize for all of those different metrics, So we start with the life cycle management piece of it, and then we send out more targeted ad hoc communications, dependent on players' value. So a higher value segment might get a much higher bonus, for example, and then a lower value player might convert better with a lower threshold to as a hurdle. So we're doing a lot of that right now. And then hopefully we can start to segment a little bit further in real time once we get our bonus integration connected along with Optimove, because then that will be more automated. So for example, we don't have to wait a day, and manually set up an offer for a player. We'll be able to, set a bonus to run for all of these players falling in this particular segment. And then it will just automate and go out on a daily basis depending on where players are coming in and out. So that's something we're really excited about.
And what's the kind of impact of all that? I mean, are we talking about acquiring lots of new customers or retaining customers, increasing the lifetime value of existing customers, or sort of a little bit of all of those things?
All of it,
Yeah.
yes, all of it. I think you really hit on all the key points there and the metrics that our team is really hyper-focused on.
Yeah, very nice. And I'd like to turn our attention now, if I may, towards the future a little bit. Obviously, in the US, the expansion of iLottery across new states is going to have a huge impact on the sector at large. But in terms of CRM and marketing specifically for the iLottery sector, what kind of trends do you foresee coming down the line in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Well, we have quite a bit of personalization through the email channel as of right now. Just the expansion of channels and personalization on web push and other things like OptiX. So having the ability to personalize the website, I think, is going to be really key and something I'm really excited about diving into here, hopefully within the next year. And like everyone's been talking about, using that the Gen AI to be able to more quickly pull insights on your players in real time, just empowering you as a CRM marketer even more. So, just the expansion of personalization and all of the new features that we'll be able to use, I think are what's coming and what's most exciting about it.
Yeah. Pete, anything to add on that? Predictions for the future?
Just to reiterate, really, I've been having a lot of conversations, quite advanced conversations with many of the larger European lotteries. And in addition to personalization on the channel as to the message being sent out, it's something that we've been working on, as Jessica was just alluding to, a product called OptiX, which is our digital experience platform. Mm-hmm. So this is enables lotteries to present content driven by AI to their users on any of the channels that they're communicating to them. So everybody's used to that now, from like the Netflix to Amazon to going on and what you're used to. So of course, from lottery side, it's exactly the same. There's a vast amount of content for the e-instance in particular, and that's something that, again, most of the conversations I've had in the last 3-4 months with the European lotteries is very much focused on that level of personalization. So it's taking it to an absolute another level that, say, lotteries historically have never been able to do.
Yeah. Well, it's always an interesting topic and very exciting to see what the future holds for iLottery in general, and I know that Optimove and Scientifc Games are going to play a big part in that story. But we've all got a conference to get back to,
Yep.
So Pete, Jessica, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank
It's
you.
been my absolute pleasure to speak to you both, and we'll catch up about all this again soon, I'm sure.
Likewise, pleasure. Thank you, Connor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.